I'm Nolan Dalla. We're back with Doyle Brunson, the man, talking about the greatest westerns of all time. Doyle Brunson's list of top 60 westerns. By the way, if you watch this show and you want to see what were Doyle's, we have to skip a few of them, what were Doyle's favorite 60 westerns of all time? Well, you can go to fifthstreetsports.com, that's with a 5, fifthstreetsports.com. I'll put it on my site at nolandalla.com, and we'll probably have it, I'm sure we'll get tweeted and Facebooked all over the place. Doyle, you'll put it up too?
I'll put it on Twitter, yeah.
Outstanding. And so we're not just talking about your list, but what makes these movies so special. Let's pick it up where we left off. One of the actors that makes your list almost as much as John Wayne, or right up there, is Clint Eastwood. And number 27, the outlaw Josie Wales. I haven't seen that in many years. I refresh my memory about that.
Is that a spaghetti western?
No, it was not. It was made in the 70s, I believe.
Yeah. It was about this guy that they were fighting for the South, and they surrendered to the North, and they executed everybody except Josie Wales and 2 or 3 more, and they ran. So now Josie Wales is an outlaw, and they got big bounties on him, and everybody's coming after him trying to collect the bounty. All the bounty hunters and everything. I can remember one of them saying he left, and Clint Eastwood said something to him, and he kind of dogged it, turned around, went back out, and then he came back in and said, "I had to come back in." Clint Eastwood said, "Yeah, I know. I got to make a living." Clint Eastwood, he said, "Dying ain't make much of a living." So, of course, here they went. Clint Eastwood killed him. But that was I'm glad that wasn't a spaghetti western, because that was actually one of the favorite of mine.
Yeah, outlaw Josie Wales. What did somebody that you know personally pretty well, one of your better friends, is a very famous actor. A lot of people remember him from The Godfather, but he's also done an astounding number of westerns, and that's Robert Duvall. Talk about your friendship with the great Robert Duvall, Doyle.
Well, they made the...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Cheese for you?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
They made the poker movie. What's the actual name of it? Yeah, Lucky You. And, you know...
He kind of plays you, doesn't he? Wasn't that the idea?
No.
Wasn't that character based on you?
I don't know.
Said.
I don't know.
Thank you.
But anyway, he was in it, and I was in it in some cameo shots. So I got to know him, got to hang out with him and talk to him and everything. And then he came to Las Vegas, and we went out to Jack Binion's to a brunch that I went to. And I spent 3 or 4 hours with him. You know, he was really a regular guy.
Well, what do you guys talk about? Now, Doyle Brunson, and how'd you like to be a fly on that wall? Doyle Brunson talking to Robert Duvall. What'd you guys talk about?
We talked about, strangely enough, nothing about gambling. He didn't know anything about that. But we talked about his. I knew that he had a restaurant in North Carolina. He wanted to know how in the world did I know that. And we talked about horse riding and cowboying, and I asked him, you know, he's a tango dancer.
That's right. His wife is, I think, Argentinian, isn't she? Or, yeah, right.
And I don't know. It was just, I think he found it interesting that I knew so much about him.
He's like yourself. He's a very interesting man, and has a lot of depth and a lot of things that you maybe wouldn't expect. You wouldn't expect Robert Duvall to be a tango dancer, would you?
No, good.
Yeah. So he makes the next movie on your list, which is number 25, Open Range, with Annette Bening plays the female in this, the female lead in this film. And Open Range was made around 2000. I'm going to say 2000, 2001, maybe 15 years or something.
I think 2001.
Roughly.
Why I remember that, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's a beautifully shot movie, and it gets back to that morality tale where they're trying to basically raise their cattle on the land the way the West used to be before there were fences. Open range is the name of the movie, and then they get some resistance and those bad guys that come in. What do you remember about Open Range?
I remember Kevin Costner when they were fixing to have this gunfight where they were probably going to get killed, and he said, "Boss," he called him Boss Spearman. He said, "Boss, I'm not going to go to my maker without knowing your first name." And he wouldn't tell him. He said, "I mean it. I'm not going to fight unless you tell me." And Robert Duvall said, "Well, it's Buttercup." He said, "My first name's Buttercup, but you dare ever tell anybody."
That's why I didn't want anybody to know his name.
Yeah, and then I remember him killing that the bad rancher that was giving him all the trouble, busting down through that door. I wondered, he must have been 65 years old, or 70 maybe. And I remember marveling at how he ran up that door and just crashed through it.
But Robert Duvall, I think, he always plays this, certainly recently, the man of wisdom, the man who's kind of just narrating and telling, the tale. And in a lot of movies, he seems to assume that almost fatherly role. Yeah.
Well, and Lonesome Dove is my all. It's not the one I've got listed as number one, but it is my number one all-time Western. I don't know if you can call it a Western because it was a miniseries.
Right.
But, he put on a performance in that. As Gus McRae, that was just unbelievable.
How many times have you seen Lonesome Dove?
Probably 15 or 20. And there's sequels to Lonesome Dove and prequels. And I've seen them all. Comanche Moon, Dead Man's Wall, Streets of Laredo, and every one of them is Return to Lonesome Dove is good.
Yeah, I don't know how you remember all this, Doyle. That's amazing to me. We'll move on to your number 24. I don't think I've ever actually seen this movie all the way through, but it's the Magnificent Seven. And I think Yul Brynner, I believe, stars in that, and maybe Charles Bronson. Does that sound right?
Charles Bronson, James Coburn.
They're kind of are they outlaws and they run around? I forgot what the story is.
Yeah, they were gunfighters, and it was at the time when gunfighters were getting obsolete. Things were evolving from the Old West to the New West. And this Mexican town was being terrorized by Eli Wallach.
Yeah, right.
And so they came up in this poor village that gave what's his name, Yul Brynner, all the money they had to come down and protect them. And so then he went and found 6 other guys to go down with them to help, I think, for like a $20 gold piece. And of course they went down and had some, Steve McQueen.
That's right, Steve McQueen is in it, yes.
Yeah, right. And it was just
it's a classic movie,
yeah.
No question. Number 23 on your list, Doyle, is a movie that's not very highly ranked by critics. I've seen it made in 1960 or 61, and it's Marlon Brando's directorial debut. One-Eyed Jacks with Carl Malden. A movie that, again, that was kind of a mess, but there's a lot of really good moments in this movie. I'm a little surprised it made your list. What do you remember about One-Eyed Jacks?
I remember Marlon Brando and Carl Malden getting trapped off into on the desert, and one of them had to go try to find the horses, and so Carl Malden left and left Marlon Brando there. And Carl Malden just kept going. He didn't come back, and Marlon Brando went to prison for 5 years. Now he's out. He's going to find Carl Malden and kill him. And so he goes all the way to California to find him. And then he finds him and he pretends that he's not mad at him. And then I remember that a gunfight scene where he drew and fired back behind his back some way. I've never seen anything like it.
We've got to find that clip because that is it goes like a McEnroe type behind the thing shot, one of those kind of weird, for sure.
And then Ben Johnson was in
there. And that's another classic character actor that you knew, and Jack Binion, I guess, knew him, and he was part of that that club of gamblers who were real cowboys. Talk about Ben Johnson briefly, if you can, Doyle.
Well, Ben Johnson, he was Cowboy Wilford was one of the boys, one of the poker players, and he had been a cowboy along with Slim Pickens, Ben Johnson, Chill Wills. There's somebody I'm leaving out. I can't remember.
Jack Elam we talked about earlier. No, he wasn't there.
One of that group. But anyway, they were all cowboys together, and all those guys went into the movie business. Cowboy became a world-class professional poker player, and so I met all those guys through Cowboy, and they were all country boys like me, and I got along with all of them. Just there's some kind of a bond between country people, especially Texans.
Right.
I just got along with them.
Next on your list, and this is one that was a surprise to me, was a film directed by Sam Peckinpah, and it's Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. A very interesting film because Christopherson stars in this film. Bob Dylan, the singer, at the time the counterculture maven, really made it in '73, but Bob Dylan at the time was certainly a big name in music and wasn't known for making movies. But Bob Dylan did the soundtrack and also makes an appearance.
What is that song about heaven that he?
Yeah, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Thank you.
Yeah.
Knocking on Heaven's Door. Todd is coming in with the support. Thank you, Todd. Jason Robards also in this movie. Very underrated film. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. What do you remember about that?
I remember Jackie Elam again, and Chris Christopherson backing off. We're going to have a duel, and they're going to take 10 steps and turn around and shoot, Well, Billy the Kid, he took 2 steps and turned around, had his gun on him.
Excuse me, who plays Billy the Kid? Bob Dylan?
No, Chris
Christopherson plays Billy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jack Elam is a deputy that Pat Garrett had deputized. Anyway, he took 7 steps and he turned around, but Billy the Kid was already on him and shot him and killed him. And he went up to him and said, "That wasn't 10 steps, Hoss." And he said, "I know, but they'll remember me at least." And it was just a good movie.
One of the first movies I remember seeing, I think, in a theater. This is number 21 on your list. It was 1969. I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and my parents took me at age 7 to see John Wayne and Glenn Campbell in True Grit, for which John Wayne won, long overdue, the Best Actor of the Year, the Oscar that year for True Grit. There was a remake, I believe, with Jeff Bridges. It was made around
Glenn Campbell.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Was he in it as well? So this is about 4 or 5 years ago. We're talking about the 1969 original with John Wayne. Why is True Grit so special?
I don't know, and I love Matt Damon. I met him and spent some time with him, but he didn't fit the bill of a Texas Ranger. But I don't know, John Wayne is just he's just such a robust scoundrel, And he was a marshal that was pretty devious. He did a lot of unscrupulous things, and it just was very interesting.
Yeah, who was the female? Katharine Hepburn? Who played it? Katharine Hepburn was in there, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I remember hearing an interview with Glenn Campbell shortly before he died, and he said, he was asking him about, he's starring with John Wayne in this film, and Glenn Campbell kind of makes fun of himself. He says, my acting was so bad. Next to me, John Wayne looked so good he got the Oscar. I thought that was a really funny line. And certainly it was a great movie. Deserves to be on your list, Doyle. This is a film I'm not quite as familiar with. Number 19 on your list, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I think John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, and Lee Marvin. Yes, we're in this. But I know the title, but I don't remember much else about it. For those who haven't heard of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, tell us about that.
Well, Liberty Valance was a crook, and he had this whole town buffaloed, everybody except John Wayne. And Jimmy Stewart came in from the east. He was a lawyer, and he tried to get him to court and everything, but there was no law back then, except John Wayne was the only guy that was tougher than Liberty Valance, but Liberty Valance wouldn't mess with him because he knew it. And so Jimmy Stewart couldn't hardly hold a gun, and they finally had to. Liberty Valance called him out, so he went up to shoot it out with him, and Liberty was laughing at him because he's shooting, he couldn't hit him. And finally he picked up the gun, and John Wayne was standing off and killed Liberty Valance, and everybody thought it was Jimmy Stewart. And so then he went on to become a U.S. Senator, and that was his main claim to fame, the man that killed Liberty Valance.
Oh, right, yeah.
But it wasn't.
It was just a myth.
Truthfully, it wasn't him.
Wow.
It was John Wayne.
Oh. Good backstory. This is a movie that probably a lot of people will know. It's more of the modern era. The 310 to Yuma, number 16 on your list, starring Russell Crowe. I think most people have seen that, love that movie. You too. What was it about 310 to Yuma you loved?
I just saw it again just yesterday. In fact, Glenn Ford did the original, but this is a remake.
It was made in the 50s, the original.
And I don't know, just I think this was Crowe's best job. He was a cold-blooded killer that was just absolutely had no scruples at all. Ben Wade is his name, in the movie. And he got captured, and they, the Pinkertons, the railroad, put out
security,
a report to somebody would put him on the 310 train to Yuma prison. And so I can't even remember who the guy is. I know his face. He's not a big-time actor. But anyway, he's the guy that was going to take him to the train. And he did, but he got killed. But Crowe had learned to like him. And so he turned and killed all of his crew and got on the train and went to Yuma.
All right, Doyle, we're moving right along. Number 15 now on the list. A movie from 1972. John Wayne was the star in it, but he's not really the star. The name of this movie is The Cowboys. And really the star are these young cowboys who John Wayne couldn't find anybody to take this herd of cattle from Texas up to Kansas or somewhere north, and they have to blaze with like thousands of cattle, and he can't find anybody to cowboy or herd the cattle up. So he hires all these teenage boys, and Bruce Dern is the baddest ass son of a bitch you're ever going to meet, and is a bad guy in this movie. And the fight scene between John Wayne and Bruce Dern is 6 or 7 minutes of just blood.
Absolutely. He told Bruce Dern, he said, I'm 64 years old, I've had a broken back, cracked ribs, and I've never seen the day that I couldn't kick your ass. And Bruce Dern said, oh really? So he took his gun off, and sure enough, John Wayne whipped him with his fist, and then Bruce Dern took a gun and shot him.
Yeah, he played dirty though.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a fist fight,
and
Dern just says, I can't beat him, so I shoot him.
He shot him,
And it's a great movie because Wayne, well, it's no surprise, Wayne dies halfway through this movie, and then the kids, pick up where John Wayne, led the boys. Now they grow into men, essentially. And that's the story. Yeah. Boys growing into men faced with pressure. It's a really, really great tale.
And it was very memorable when they were on the way back home. They tried to find his grave, and they couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the black guy that was the cook.
Yeah.
He said, don't worry about it. He said, the prairie is his mother. He said, we know this is where it is, and he's happy there.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, good movie.
That's beautiful, Doyle. Moving on down, we're going to get down to 10, and then we're going to take a break. We got a few more to go. Tombstone, and that's a more recent movie starring Kurt Russell. Honestly, I've never seen Tombstone, so I have to look at my notes. I know, I'm embarrassed. I have to look at my notes. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, and the great, of course, talk about a great character actor, Sam Elliott is in this movie as well. I know the title, but I don't remember.
Sam Elliott?
Yeah. I believe so, right? Was not in there? All right, so anyway, talk about Tombstone.
Well, I mean, the thing you can say about Tombstone, I'm your Huckleberry. I think that's probably the most widely used term around, you hear it all around the poker games now. I'm your Huckleberry. That Val Kilmer was Doc Holliday, and I don't know who the actor was that was playing Johnny Ringo, and he was trying to pick a fight with Wyatt Earp. Like I say, who was Kurt Russell, and he didn't have a gun. He said, I don't have a gun. And then here came Kurt Val Kilmer. Said, I'm your Huckleberry.
Oh, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's where
I've heard that term.
many
I didn't
times,
know that
yeah.
was from the movie.
Yeah.
No kidding. It makes your top 12, Doyle. Congratulations to Tombstone. Oh, this is one of my favorite movies. Another Sam Peckinpah classic, The Wild Bunch. And I'll give you a little background that you probably know, Doyle, but maybe not. The Wild Bunch, made in 1969, starring William Holden, and I believe Ernest Borgnine is in this movie, and it's just a great film. And
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson is in there as well. That's
Warren
right.
Oates.
Yes, Warren Oates, who is also another fine actor. This movie, I read a book on Sam Peckinpah, and he talked about when they had the codes about violence and cursing and all that, well, they changed around 1969, 1970, where you could start showing violence in movies. You didn't used to be able to use the S word or the F word. All that changed around 1969, 1970, roughly, because the morality codes changed in movies. And The Wild Bunch was one of the very first movies to debut after the codes came down, and they apparently this film debuted in Kansas City. Not sure why it debuted there, but they said people were walking out, they were screaming because it was so violent that no one had ever seen men shot, and you'd see the blood splatter. You never used to see this. No. You'd see somebody die and they'd lay.
That was the first
But you'd see the splatter and then Sam Peckinpah had this great technique which. When somebody would get shot, he would slow the motion down. You remember that? It would be real slow, and you'd see, oh, and the blood would be, people were so grossed out when they saw this. So now I'm talking about how much I love The Wild Bunch. Why do you love The Wild Bunch?
They didn't use a lot of bad language.
That's right, yeah.
But like you say, that's the first film that really had all that violence in it.
Yeah.
And that, like you say, that last fight scene, I mean, that's a classic. I mean, I've never seen anything in a Western that was like that. Like you say, he slowed it down, and I can just see William Holden, when they went up to get Angel.
Yeah.
And the guy cut his throat. They must have killed 200 Mexicans. Those four guys, Ernest Borgnine, Ben Johnson, Warren Oates, William Holden. And I can remember right before they got killed, William Holden and Ernest Borgnine were laying there, and William Holden said, "Get up, you lazy bastard." And then they all died. Oh, and Robert Ryan.
Robert Ryan Sorry?
Edmund O'Brien was the old man. And so Robert Ryan joined out with them. He stayed down in Mexico because he had to go back to the United States to prison. Yeah, it was that's a classic.
Well, the Wild Bunch was so cool because it was, I believe it was supposed to take place in right before World War I, like 1912, 1913, when the cowboy way was becoming, the horses were being replaced by the automobile. Cities are growing and replacing the towns. So these cowboys are kind of from this, from the previous century, and you have the 20th century dawning, and this is not just a movie, but this is what's great about the Westerns. They're not just about the West, they're about life and about changes and adopting to really a lot of different things.
It was similar to the one we were just talking about, the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
Because the gunfighters were just going out of style. And I can remember William Holden telling Ernest Borgnine, they were going to go rob a train or something. He said, they're all going to be waiting for us. And William Holden said, I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, Doyle, this has been fantastic. We're down to number 10, and we're going to come back and we're going to do Doyle Brunson's top 10 Westerns of all time, his favorites. We'll be right back here on Fifth Street Sports.